With baseball trading deadline just getting wrapped up in terms of non-waiver deals, and now the waiver deadline is upon us, and playoffs will be here before we can snap our fingers. Scott Wilson, Will Castle, the Chew on This crew, joined me for a episode of Chew on This. They are not it's not limited to them, but they are the Chew on This regulars. We talk Major League Baseball, 2 wild cards, is that one too many, and more. Baseball talk with Scott, Will, and Bob on the Sports Buffet podcast. Chew on This. We chew on some Major League Baseball here in the first part of August. Trade deadline just completed, and 2 out of the 3 of us have teams in first place right now. How are you, Will Castle? Not you, Scott Wilson. Washington Nationals in first place. My
Dodgers aren't too far out, right?
No.
I think they get a wild card. My New York Yankees
Right now
in
they're
first place.
not in the wild card grid.
But the Dodgers made a trade today, as we sit here on Friday, August the 3rd. Joe Blandon's coming to town.
What,
The Philadelphia Phillies.
The waiver thing?
Yes.
He was the scheduled starter for the Phillies tonight.
Well, I don't think he started.
Yeah.
You know, I have a tough time with the fact I got to root for Victorino now. And there's 2 freaking Phillies I got to root for. Son of a bitch.
They're not
like the
from
flying
Philadelphia. They're not from Philadelphia. They just played in the city.
Same difference. It depends on how much it rubbed off on them.
The Washington Nationals. Let's get right to them. We talk about this every time. We're going to talk about it again.
SS.
He shut down the SS Express.
I saw the other day that he's pitched 121 in a third innings or something like that, so that would give him 39 to go.
It's just
160s there. 160s
Yeah.
there.
It's the alleged limit.
Yeah. The alleged limit, 160-ish.
The team has been very firm. We're pulling him. We're pulling him. We're pulling him. We're pulling him.
And I think they do. I
I tend to believe him.
Well, then they have to. Just the fact that they have to. Because if they don't, then honestly you can't believe a word the rest of that management ever says. Ever.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I wonder if they really thought they'd be in first place.
Well, I mean, that's the goal.
Well, that is the goal.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't think. I'm sure they didn't think the Phillies would be as bad as they are.
Well, here's my question though.
Nor did the Phillies, probably.
Are they playing him in the same normal rotation?
Yes.
See, why don't they just stagger that some? Instead of, you're pitching every 5 games, you're pitching every 7 games.
Well,
stretch it out.
They have enough arms to do that.
I brought that up with a good friend of the podcast, Robert Fish out of Richmond, who is one of our baseball experts, and he pointed out they probably don't want to get him out of regular rotation, which I understand that. I'm not saying Robert agrees with it either, but I understand that. I just don't necessarily agree with it. I mean, the other the other option would be throw him in the bullpen for a little bit, have him just throw an inning here or 2 innings there.
But here's the thing:
can't close him though.
If they knew from Jump Street that here's this amount of innings, then if they had put him on the 1 every 7 game rotation from the beginning of the season, then you wouldn't have been screwing him up.
Or you could just start him in middle of May.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, but I don't, I think these athletes are babied too much as is, so
Agreed.
I do not, I mean, and they're not the same team as Strasburg leaves the rotation. I mean,
I still think they can win a 7-game series without him if they need to. They've got enough other good pitchers. It depends on the matchups and who.
But they don't have an ace when you take Strasburg out. I mean, Ross Detweiler is not an ace.
Well, yeah, you're naming their 5th string
Edwin
pitcher.
Jackson's not an ace. John Lennon is not an ace. Gio Gonzalez is not an ace like Strasburg is. Gio Gonzalez is very good 2.
Yeah.
Maybe a very good 3. He's a good 2 on the Nationals. Probably be a good 2 on some other teams. But I just like the threat of having Strasburg that I can throw.
All right, here's the scenario. Let's say he hits this 160. They set him down. Get to the playoffs. Win the first round. Win 7. They go to the World Series.
No,
they don't play him.
I don't think you can do that then.
But
it's worth thinking about.
If I'm Strasburg, I'm saying, put me in, coach.
But
just the fact that it's like, let's say he helped get you there.
Right, but I don't get what the rest now does for you because I mean, you got the off season to rest. I mean, don't throw him 9 innings. Don't throw him a complete game. Throw him, at most cap his starts right now at 6.
But I mean,
regardless, I'm saying cap it at 6.
But I mean, if they get to the World Series, you're talking about pitching him at max 16 to 18 more innings.
Right, but I don't think they sit him. Let's say he sits in middle of September.
Mhm.
I don't think they sit him for 4 weeks and then decide to put. I don't think so.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'd love to see him pitch in the playoffs,
Right.
but I think once he's done, he's done.
And I mean, you got to, Washington has got to, I mean, I keep coming back to this. You don't know if you're the Nationals if you ever will be back in this position.
Yeah.
I mean, unless your name is the Yankees or Red Sox, except for this year for the Red Sox. I mean, normally playoffs are not guaranteed for people.
Yeah.
I mean, and you got to think the Phillies are going to get better again at some point. You got to think the Braves, I think, are a young up-and-coming team just as much as the Nationals are.
Right.
I mean,
Mets too.
Mets have to get better again at some point, and the Marlins just have had a bad year. Like, I think the Nationals have gotten lucky in the sense of, yes, they have played good, but the
A lot
other
of
two
other teams have
teams
played
in the NL East that were supposed to be good with the Phillies and Marlins have not been. So, Cliff Lee was put on waivers. He did not pass through. Some team claimed him, and the Phillies said, we're not trading him.
Is this new? I didn't hear that.
This happened today.
Okay.
So, I mean, some teams will do that because they don't want him to go to another team, right?
Right. It's happened before. I mean,
Yeah.
you call it the old block.
Yeah.
But,
When he went to the Phillies, that was a regular midseason trade, right?
What do you go for the Rangers?
that was a free agent signing, I thought.
There was one year where did he go to the Rangers, the middle of the season? He was traded in the middle of the season one year.
Yes, he's been with the Indians.
So maybe he went from Cleveland to Texas in the middle of the year.
Well, I thought this is his second stop in Philly.
I'm just saying at some point he was traded in the middle of the season.
Right. But I thought it was Cleveland, Philly, Texas, and then he re-signed with Philly after he was with
I'm not
Texas.
sure.
Anyway, $25 million is a lot to pay a guy.
Yeah.
And I was talking to someone. I think when you trade him and the waiver deadline is expired, I don't think you can say we'll pick up some of the salary. I think the team that takes him is on the hook for that cost. So now we don't know who claimed him. They don't release that information.
Yeah.
So if you're Philly, why would you put him on waivers if you say you're not going to?
Well, I mean, you can put everybody on waivers.
But why would you
essentially.
do that? What's the point?
Well, I mean, who's to say that maybe the Mets claimed him, or somebody like that, and Philly said no, we're not. I mean, I think if you send him through waivers and he passes, then you can talk to whoever you want, Texas, Dodgers, Yankees, whoever. But somebody probably claimed him that Philly.
But the Nationals might have done it.
I don't think so.
Yeah, but they'd be far down the line.
Is it based on the record, or is it? I mean,
Yes.
just
Yeah.
like, okay.
So I mean,
They
I
get the last chance.
right. I think Texas was probably the most likely destination for Cliff Lee, and I still think this could revisit itself in the off season. But I mean, if the Rangers don't bring back Josh Hamilton, they got money to spend, and I don't know that they bring back Josh Hamilton.
Well,
to be
maybe
honest
they'll
with
trade Josh Hamilton for Cliff Lee in the offseason.
you. Can't trade Josh Hamilton because he'd be a free agent.
Fine.
So, but I mean, I think the Rangers probably feel like they can live without Josh Hamilton as long as they re-sign Napoli and have another cheap bat or two. I mean, some people have said this is probably one of the last go-arounds for the Rangers too, because they're getting to be an older team. Michael Young is not what he used to be, but that pitching is so young. I mean, I don't know a lot of age in the
Right.
rotation that I know of, and you can always find position players. I mean, plus they have Profar coming up at some point to play short. And then if they wanted to, they could move Elvis Andrews over to second or deal him and get back another player. I wouldn't be surprised at some point if they also tried to maybe buy low on Carl Crawford, because Carl Crawford is from the Texas area, and I think if Boston could get out from that albatross of a salary too, they would be first in line.
So I was asking Scott to confirm. So this year is the first year the 2 wild cards.
Correct.
They play a 1 game.
Correct.
Now it's simple. Why not do it 2 out of 3?
Because they're playing 1 game. I don't know the answer to that.
I said they're worried about the postseason getting too long.
Well, the second wild card team has to go to the first wild card team, and I think even if the second wild card team wins, I think it's something to where
Isn't it something that like one of the wild card team could host, like the divisional game? I heard something about that.
Well, I think if wild card number 2 wins, I think they only get 1 home game in the next round. I think. I could be wrong on that.
Wow.
but I know it's not as beneficial to be second wild card.
Are they going to stick with the you can't play a team in your division in the next round?
Well, I don't know. Not obviously that you can't control that in the wild card.
I'm sorry, it's not fair. It's like if you have the best record, you should play the wild card team.
Well, you don't need a wild card. I mean, you don't need 2 wild cards in my opinion. But I mean, we don't need all participation.
Yeah, I guess the wild card would play the number 1 seed regardless of what division they're in. Whoever wins.
I think so, but I'm not. I don't know that it's ever happened, to be honest with you, where the best team and the wild card come out of the same.
Yeah, it's happened. I mean, well, it's just. Yeah, it's happened. It's happened.
What did they play?
No, the first round they didn't play each other, even though they should have.
Okay, then I would assume
Then
status
they
quo
played
will
the
hold.
next worst.
I've not heard about anything like that changing. I think if the second wild card team wins, though, I think they only get like 1 home game in the series or something like that. I mean, the baseball playoffs are fine. If you want to change something in baseball, look at replay. You don't need to change the playoffs. The playoffs are fine in baseball. I mean, pretty soon I'm worried we're going to get to a 16. Well, wait. No, we're at a 5 now. I'm afraid we'll get to a 6 team or an 8 team or some gross number that we don't need. 4 is fine.
Playing in the snow and Thanksgiving.
I mean, it's like college football. I mean, a 4-team playoff is sufficient. I mean, if you really want to go 8, that would have been okay too. But I mean, you don't need 64 teams.
I don't think I'll say about it. It'll never get to a 16, 8 will make a maximum go. And I don't think it'll ever get to that. I think 6 is high as it ever gets.
I think it could go to 8.